Hello all, my name is Yemima Mawar Naftali. You can call me Yemi. In here, I will share material about psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is a study that concerns with a psychological aspect of language. Psychologistics concentrate on theoretical and practical aspect. Theoretical aspect provide a linguistically and psychologically theory of language that can explain the nature of language and its acquisition. Practice aspect applies linguistic and psychological knowledge to linguistic problems such as reading, bilingualism, second language, and teaching speech and pathology. Point of psycholinguistics covers three headings: speech comprehension, speech production, and speech acquisition. Okay, the first is speech comprehension. Speech comprehension is the identification of the speech signal against an auditory background and its transformation into information. Beginning at a young age, we learn information from speech and hearing. When we hear sound, the brain processes those sound into information and then stores them as a memory. So when we hear the sound again, we can correlate a meaning to it. Speech comprehension is a crucial part of development, especially for children. Comprehension deals with what listeners do when they listen to speech and understand it, when they store it, and when they remember it. Examines what readers do when they read to text, understand, storage, and recall. Listener take speech they hear and other linguistic and extra-linguistic information as input and construct the most likely interpretation of what they think the speaker intend to convey. Human speech is produced by vocal organs as presented in figure below. The main energy source is the lung with the diaphragm. The oral cavity is one of the most important parts of vocal tracts. Its size, shape, and acoustic can be varied by the movement of the palate, the tongue, the lips, the cheek, and the teeth. Next, speech organ. The larynx is in the neck. It is like a box, inside which are the vocal folds, two thick flaps of muscle. In a normal position, the vocal folds are apart and we say that the glottis is open in figure A. When the edge of the vocal fold touch each other are passing through the glottis will usually cause vibration in figure B. This opening and closing is repeated regularly and gives what is called voicing. Next to process in planning and executing speech. Discourse plan. The speaker decide what kind of discourse they are going to take in part. B. Sentence plan. After the speakers have decided on the discourse, they then have select the right sentence subtitle with the discourse. In planning sentence, speaker have three options to choose: the propositional content, the illusionary content, and the thematic structure. Constituent plan. Once the listener have decided on the kind of sentence, they then can begin planning its constituent. In so doing, they have to pick up the right words, phrase, or idioms and put them in the right order. Next, articulation program. After specific words of praise are chosen, the speaker then put them into an articulatory program. And then articulation. It is the execution of the contents of the articulatory program. This process results in audible sound, the speech the speaker intend to produce. Next, the last concept maps. Conceptual preparation in terms of lexical concept. The first is the conceptual preparation process. At this stage, it is the process of thinking and imagining what we are going to say, which produces a lexical concept, namely the idea of a word that has meaning. Then in the next stage is lexical selection. That is the process of choosing words in a sentence that produce a lemma, which is a unit that contains the meaning or information of a word or sentence. Then the lemma enters the morphological encoding process. That is the process of adjusting the form of the word that we will say based on the condition. then to the phonological encoding syllabification process, that is the process of a word that will have a certain emphasis or pronunciation that determines the number of syllables obtained from the word. After that, the phonetic encoding process, that is the process of inputting phonetic that automatically enters our brain and immediately moves the speech muscle. In short, it will produce an articulation that is issued as a sound wave or speech. Next, acquisition. Language acquisition is the process by which humans acquire the capacity of perceive, produce, and use words to understand and communication. This capacity involves the picking up of diverse capacities, including syntax, phonetic, and an extensive vocabulary. This language might be vocal with speech or manuals as seen in. Language acquisition usually refers to first language acquisition, which studies in fact acquisition of their native language rather than second language acquisition that deals with acquisition in both children and adults of additional speech. Okay, topic in language acquisition. First is language development in children. B. Caretaker speech. C. Theory of first language acquisition. And D. Theories of second language acquisition. The first topic is A. Language development in children. Number one, you must the babbling stage, and then babbling to speech, and then one word stage or holopathic stage, and then two word stage, and the last is telegraphic speech. The babbling stage, the neonate comes into the word crying. So crying is the earliest form of infant vocalization. Next, babbling to speech. As infants grow older, they do three things with the sound they once babble. The first is maintain the babble repertoire. Second is lost the sound not used in their language. And third is learn to produce an repertory consonant and their sequence. Next, one stage or holopathic stage. Children usually start to say their first word at around 10 to 12 months old. They begin to imitate more exactly the sound made by the adults. Next, two-word stage. The two-word utterance produced by children indicate a variety of purpose and semantic relation. In relation to purpose, children use them to request, warn, name, refuse, beg, question, answer, and inform. And then the last is telegraphic speech. Most scholars in field agree that there is no three-word stage. B is caretaker speech. Caretaker speech is the center of children's speech environment is their parents for caretaker. Part of caretaker speech is the notion of caretaker speech, characteristic of caretaker speech, and that is baby talk. Next, the notion of caretaker speech. Adults use different ways to catch children's attention. That adults usually use three types of attention getters: name, exclamation, and modulation. Characteristic of caretaker speech. Caretaker speech tends to consist of short sentences with simple structure. The vocabulary used by adults is simple and resisted. They are very selective about the words they use. Next, baby talk. Baby talk often involves the use of vocabulary which is oversimplified and reduced. There are at least three forms of baby talk. One is a diminutive form of adult word, and second an onomatopic from repression, the sound which various things makes. The third an addition of the sound or I or to adults who are ending in a consonant. The I suffix also serve as diminutive and affectionate function. Next, C. Theory of first language acquisition. Introduction. Language acquisition device and universal grammar theory is stemming from the work of Chomsky. One is language acquisition device and universal grammar. Language acquisition device, or LAD, is set of language learning tools provided above is referred to by Chomsky. LAD operates on the raw linguistic data in children language to produce abstract grammar on the children's native language. Next, second is accessibility of UG in second language acquisition. SLA has no access to UG. This position suggests that universal grammar is unavailable for second language acquisition. B is SLA has direct access to UG in direct universal grammar access hypothesis. Universal grammar is just as active in second language acquisition as it was in first language. C is SLA has indirect access to UG, indirection accessibility of second language acquisition to universal grammar. Okay, the last points is theories of second language acquisition. Basically, this theory believes that second language acquisition is just one aspect of articulation, and the degree to which a learner acculturates the target language group will control the degree to which he acquires the second language. Okay guys, I think it's enough the material today. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to like, comment, and follow my account. Goodbye.